Yes, we continue with day one of the unofficial trial, where we've indicted Athena Sykes for the murder of her own mother. And
At the request of Aura Blackwell.
yes, we were here. We were looking to. Well, I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Ponko. Oops. Oh, whoops. That was the other controller. All right, witness. Name is Ponko. Weren't we just saying she's nice? Yes, I realize that, but when you are not at the when you are at the witness stand, you are the witness. No, I'm not. I'm Ponko. Say it with me, Ponko. What an utterly inflexible little robot. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible. Haha, you remind me of my grandchild who just learned his own name. Oh, how precious. Alright, Ponko, I'm going to ask you some questions. Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions? I want to know if you were there at the scene of the murder of Meta Sykes. It was 7 years ago on the 7th of October around 2 p.m. in the robotics lab. Certainly, just one moment. Searching data, search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab. It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to this case after all. This is great, I just knew Ponko must have seen something important. A murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes. It's inexcusable. The judge seems ready to adopt Ponko as another grandchild. So, little Ponko, do you think you can give us your testimony today? Can a robot lie?
I think they'd have to be programmed to lie, wouldn't they?
Yeah. I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mommy Menace. Then Mommy Menace fell down. After that, I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room, and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There was no data after that point.
She's been erased.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Well, it sounds like the defendant was, without question, at the scene. However, it doesn't appear that the witness saw the actual moment of the murder. I disagree. This testimony shows that the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. So what are you suggesting? The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. They don't, but yes, what this witness's statements are telling us is that the defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What? Before Miss Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, did the two of them converse? Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised. Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued. I see. Murder after a heated argument, and then the victim fell down. I agree that it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Ponko doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that. When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory. You may as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination would be useless. Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless. Until now. Think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time. Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination. I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time. Very well. Even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright. I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be. I mean, let's face it, how many times has Edgeworth told us, "Psh, what are you doing?" And then we were right. At this point, you know.
Hold it!
You Your regular recharge? What is that exactly? I have to refill my battery's power or else I stop working. I go to the lab to do that. So that recharge occurred around 2 p.m., around the time of the murder. That's right, I go every day at 2 p.m.
Hold it!
Hugged her, huh? Which Edward took to mean stabbed her with a weapon. You said the two of them were talking before Miss Sykes hugged her mother, is that right? Yes, they were talking very loudly, but I couldn't tell what they were saying. Couldn't tell, even though they were speaking so loudly. I'm only allowed to listen to voices that are directed at me. If it listened to every voice, it would be little better than a mobile eavesdropper. Well, that explains why some of Ponko's testimony is so vague. It's a shame that our little friend wasn't listening in, however. We could have learned what they were talking about just before Dr. Sykes was killed. Now then, what happened after that? And then Mommy Metis fell down. After that, it was recharging, so I don't know anything. I don't want to delve too deeply here, but could you tell us how the victim appeared and acted at this moment? Mommy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound. Her heart? Mr. Wright, have you forgotten about this document we found in the robotics lab? These robots have a heartbeat detection system. Now that he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. They detect the presence of people by the sound of the heartbeats, can determine the presence by heartbeat, recognizes people by scanning their spacesuit, can also recognize the presence by facial features, can infer people's emotions by analyzing the tone of voice and communicate with them. Wait a minute, that means Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment. Ponko, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat? Let's see, the moment she fell, her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know, I started recharging just then. Of all the unlucky timing, if you had heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved that the hug wasn't actually the moment of the murder. I'm very sorry, I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry. The robot is designed to go into sleep mode automatically, so it can't be helped. But it doesn't appear it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing. After Mommy Metis' heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window, on the workbench side of the room. The workbench, huh? Ponko must be talking about that table to the right. No, she was found to the left. Is there something critical in Ponko's statement just now? Yeah! Your Honor, I believe this statement is critical. I'd like to add it to a testimony. Or I'd like to add it to the testimony. So I think the autopsy... not the autopsy. Yeah, because this is the other side.
Objection!
Ponko, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough. I was helpful? Hooray! I'm so happy. Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table. But the operating table and the workbench are two different locations. Exactly, Your Honor. We've just learned a new crucial fact. What could explain the two very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. The defendant moved the body, the victim moved, because she wasn't dead.
She said that she personally died instantaneously when she got stabbed.
Yeah, so that means the victim, but this means that the victim moved after she fell, so that wasn't a death. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. The only explanation is that the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what Ponko observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder. Phew! I am very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that the murder wasn't committed in front of little Ponko here. Yes, as we... Right. It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever. Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit. Hey, blue's my favorite color, what can I say? If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her. Moved for her, but Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones there. I agree, since this robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system, it would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude the defendant and the victim were the only ones present. Then who do you suggest moved the body? Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss Panko, allow me to ask you a question? My name is Ponko. Say it with me, Ponko. I believe you said you were cleaning after Dr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table? Yes, I did. Athena asked me to. Athena asked you to? And what did you move, little Ponko? I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is.
I know what it is. Just like she used to bandage the robots thinking that they could fix, and that she put herself on the operating table. She asked the robot to put her mom there because she thought the machine could fix her mom.
That makes sense.
That's my guess, is what really happened.
Yeah. An ID tag, you say? Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is. That paper in the lab did mention something about that. Recognizes people by scanning their spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss Panko here can't identify what it moved. Miss Panko, on the defendant's command, moved the body onto the operating table. Panko, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell? I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell. Give it up, right? If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detective system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it draped over a chair in the robotics lab, and only wore it for special occasions. In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply just another object.
Objection!
But Ponko was equipped with a facial recognition system. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes, but she didn't, so that means... A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth, a mask, or anything else for that matter. With her facial features hidden, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. Yeah, he's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench, and using the robot, she moved the body to the table where she removed the sword and was stained in blood. Order, but if that's the case, then I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place? You want a reason? Very well. What? You can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature? I believe I read that robots can be assembled and disassembled there, isn't that right? That's right, and to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. Mom just put her on the operating table and fixed her in a flash. I was so impressed by what my mom did. I even asked her if she would put me on the table and fix me if I ever got hurt. There you go. Yeah. You can't possibly be suggesting. This young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. But take a look at Ponko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that. She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought that if a robot could be dismantled and vanished without a trace... Prosecutor Edgeworth, if you are about to claim what I think you are, I demand that you word it as delicately as you can. With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table... No, don't say another word, just stop. Was to dismantle the evidence so that she could get away with her crime. That can't be. See. Order! Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth, no more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function, it can make repairs as well. It's conceivable that Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table in order to fix her. I suppose that could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way. What do you mean? After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it had never happened, and that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation. But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant, and the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged. This just can't be true. Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim? Evidence, right, let's see. I'm afraid I don't have any evidence. Since becoming chief prosecutor, I've learned that the truth isn't always pretty. Now, accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough. What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter argument, I see no need to further prolong this trial. Edgeworth's argument seems solid enough, but, there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? There has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing. Who's that? Prosecutor Blackwell.
Where's his chains?
Oh, I see his chains, I think. This is quite the farce you were conducting here. I could die from laughter. Prosecutor Blackwell, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is that your argument is based on an entirely false premise. Go on, we're listening. This be the miracle I need. But what is Prosecutor Blackwell trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years, this case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your baldness I will take to the stand, and I won't take no for an answer. Of course, Prosecutor Blackwell, please go ahead. I went to the Cosmos Space Center with the intention of killing Dr. Sykes, but when I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Sykes to return, and then I committed the act. Ah, how cathartic it was. The little Ponko here witnessed the victim fall, in other words. I don't need any of your other words, old man. I can guess what happened. Which would be... She fell means she fell, merely that. A mother and child fooling around. Perhaps she tripped. Not that it matters. When I entered the lab, there was no trace of Dr. Sykes to be seen. There was no dead body either, of course, meaning she must have left the room. So the murder occurred after the time period Ponko described in her testimony. You should hardly take stock in the words of a wind-up boy. Then how do you explain the fact that the defendant had the robot move something? Athena was always tinkering with robots on the operating table to amuse herself, and she always had Ponko move the heavy ones for her. That day was no different. Ponko moved a heavy robot for Athena. This is awful. What he's saying seems to make sense to me yet. Prosecutor Blackwell, are you trying even now to turn away from the truth? Don't you realize we could bring the dark age of the law to a close today? You expect too much from me. I'm just a murderer beyond redemption. Why don't you just let me go so I can settle down into hell? Prosecutor Blackwell's execution is tomorrow. If the truth doesn't come out now, it's all over. Are you saying that the little girl and the robot had nothing to do with the murder? That's right, so let's hear your verdict. If we don't hurry, I might miss the ferry across the Styx. It's called Styx, right? Not Stykes? Don't you dare, Judge. Don't forget I have hostages over here. And Simon, how long are you going to cover for her? Miss Blackwell. Forgive me, Aura. I never wanted you to do anything like this for me. But you agreed to this trial. If you have a counter-argument, then present your evidence. That's the... Blackwell, you selfish. Well, to be frank, I don't like this, but it's my duty to make a decision. If no one has a counter-argument, I will announce my verdict. Is this really happening? Is it really going to end just like it did 7 years ago? want to do it so bad. Even now, I want to fly out of here and go save him. No, I can't tell her, but how can I lie to Athena? If I can't prove Prosecutor Blackwell's innocence in this trial, I don't think Athena will ever forgive me. I can't let this happen, but I just don't have the evidence to counter Prosecutor Blackwell's testimony. That's okay, you can just press him. Who's holding it this time? Athena, what are you feeling okay? I can hear it. I can hear the voice of his heart. He's hiding something. If he really is, I could sure use Athena's help here. Her power might be just the thing to get us through this. Sykes, Dono. No need for you to chime in here. Just accept that you're innocent.
Objection!
These past 7 years, they've been just as hard on me, you know. What are you talking about? Do you remember that horrible, horrible trial? Even now, every time I stand in the courtroom, it comes back to haunt me. Not being heard, no matter how hard you try, feeling so helpless. Caught in people's stare, so scared that it feels like your chest is in a vice. I'm terrified of courtrooms. I want to run out of that door even now. This day has finally come, the day I've been looking forward to with all my heart. This is why I became a lawyer. This is why I studied psychology. It was all to save you from this false conviction. But Miss Sykes, do you realize what it would mean? You are the accused, after all. If you prove Prosecutor Blackwell innocent, then the only thing that matters is the truth. It's my duty to find out what the truth is. Simon, please give me this chance. The chance to shake off this fear that's been with me for 7 years and to face the truth. Athena is being so brave, confronting her past like this. This might really be the last chance to save them both. Prosecutor Blackwell, please testify one more time about the incident 7 years ago. Fine, but your efforts will surely be in vain. For I am not a man who can be cut down easily. Here we go, Simon. Let me hear the voice of your heart. When I got to the robotics lab, I found Athena there instead. I can see why he'd be happy to find her, though. So far. Well, we read it already. I mean, he did say it's cathartic. I mean, I was thinking if I saw something other than happiness here, I'd be suspicious. See what happens, what they say. His emotions are very guarded, and his defenses are way up. He steeled his will as if he'll never let his secrets be known. Oh, I don't know about that. We've got a couple of strong wills on our side, too. Prosecutor Blackwell isn't the killer, and we're going to prove it. But what was he trying to do that day? If we approach it from that angle, I hope we can find an emotion that just doesn't add up.
What if he's going to talk to his sister, his Matt's sister?
Could be that.
I said why he's happy with her.
I mean, he said it was cathartic. But, there's no motive, so yeah, in that case, I don't get why. Well, being angry and happy.
weird.
Yeah. Let's go with anger, since Athena should make me happy. And we've... Oh, never mind. Well, let's do this since you were wondering about it. Nope, doesn't seem like it. Is it because he's happy while he's just waiting? Nope. Boy, we're really... I'm glad they don't penalize us for this. So it's just the fact that he's mad when...
But that makes sense. If you thought about going to kill somebody, wouldn't you be angry?
But then he's happy when he kills her. So you almost think he should be happy going in. Like, basically, the only time he's not happy is going there. So maybe this is it. You know, remember last time it was because there was one missing? Maybe it's because he's not happy here. Oh boy. So I think the only one we didn't do was happiness here. That was it. I'm not sure why, though. This feeling of happiness. Even though the person you were looking for wasn't there, you felt happy. Why is that? Simple. When I was looking for Athena and hadn't found her yet, I grew worried. So when I saw her in the robotics lab, I was happily relieved. Merely that. Just now, you said that you went to the Space Center to kill Dr. Sykes, but the first thing you did was look for her daughter instead. I had no intention of harming Athena, so I wanted to confirm that she was safe first. It was just a part of my plan. Nothing contradictory about that. Yeah. The second I found an inconsistency, he cuts it down. Simon knows the principles of analytical psychology. There's less noise now, but I don't see any instabilities we can latch on to. I was afraid of that. We'll just have to keep chipping away at him, then, bit by bit. Could you update his testimony, Athena? You got it, boss.
Well, Or's jealous of Athena, so maybe he went there because he thought his sister was going to hurt her.
That could be it, because she's a violent person, we've seen.
And she's jealous.
So he's no longer angry here. When I found Athena in the robotics lab, I was relieved. But I would not be swayed from my purpose, so I waited for Dr. Sykes to return. Okay, now we've changed. Ho ho ho.
Maybe he killed the wrong person. Like he tried to kill his sister.
Not even you can falsify your emotions, Prosecutor Blackwell. What? When you said that you killed Dr. Sykes in your testimony, you felt sadness. Why would someone who had lain in wait to kill her be sad at her death? Such an obvious attack. Yes, I felt sadness, but it wasn't for her. I felt sorrow for Athena and her circumstances. Yeah, he can't be talking about that, can he? I was just a convenient subject for her research. My objective was to save Athena from an obsessive scientist who treated her own daughter like a research subject. What? I went to the psychology lab first. That's where I would usually find Athena playing. But that day was different. I heard someone crying in the robotics lab next door. Was Athena being subjected to yet another experiment? I thought as I went to see. Conveniently, Athena had cried herself to sleep, so all I had to do was wait and kill. So that's why he was relieved when he saw Athena. But is this story really true? I'm not sure how much to believe. Mr. Wright, how are you doing, Athena? Still hanging in there? I'm a lot stronger than I look, boss. Now take a look at this. The noise level actually increased. It went up. Never seen it do that before. Prosecutor Blackwell is lying somewhere in his testimony. As a matter of fact, he's piling lie on top of lie in an attempt to make his claim sound more believable. He's even trying harder to suppress his true feelings, and that's what's causing the noise. How in the world should I approach this? An evidence-based approach might work if I find a contradiction. Otherwise, I should look for an inconsistency in his emotions. There are no flaws in my testimony, and his baldness is prepared to give his verdict. Give up on this lost cause, and let the law free me of these chains already.
Objection!
I don't think so, not while I'm around. Now, contradictory testimony or inconsistent emotions? Which should I tackle first? This is an interesting choice.
It doesn't matter, because we gotta do both of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe emotions? Let's go with emotions since we're already on that track. Okay, let's look for inconsistent emotions. Got it, boss. But if you want to try looking for a contradictory statement instead, just let me know. I can easily switch over. I heard crying from next door. Of course I was worried.
And he's surprised.
Yeah, which makes sense. I hurried over and opened the door to the robotics lab.
He's surprised he's crying. He's surprised he's still alive.
Yeah.
His sister. He's going after his sister.
Yeah, you've got it in for her sister. Before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I refused to hand Athena over, so I had no choice but to kill my mentor. Let's go with testimony. We see an unusual out-of-place emotion just pointed out. Is there really an inconsistency? Let's try his testimony. Still, why was she on the chair?
Kid actually got fixed. Well, how would the mom ask for a thing if she cried herself to sleep? The kid was already there.
I'm sorry, I'm not following that.
So he said that she cried herself to sleep.
Right.
So he just laid in wait to kill her. And he said the mom came in and she said, I refuse to hand Athena over, so I had no choice but to kill her mentors.
Yeah, well now he's saying before he could get Athena out, Dr. Sykes came in and he refused to hand her over. Now, we're pretty sure he's lying. But this is his new... This is his new testimony.
I'd say this because like he came in thinking he'd kill her anyway.
Yeah, but what evidence contradicts that? fixing his emotions again? Because we can't press him on anything.
He's sad and he's surprised. I guess that's normal.
Yeah, that would seem normal for that.
I don't know why he's surprised about seeing her.
I mean, let's try.
Got it!
Hey! How odd. Why would you register surprise at opening the door to the lab? Alright, fine, I'll explain if I must. What surprised me was Ponko. That toy figure attacked me. Dr. Sykes knew full well of my plan to rescue Athena, but she couldn't stand guard over her daughter 24 hours a day. So Dr. Sykes had Ponko do it. That's right, she ordered Ponko to forcibly remove me on sight. So I slashed Ponko up with the katana that was there in the lab. Huh, that rickety old puppet wasn't worthy of that fine blade. Mr. Wright, it's happening again. There's even more noise now. What?
He's a liar pants.
It's at 100% now. What's going on here? Whenever we find an opening, he covers it up with lies. We'll never get rid of the noise at this rate. It's pretty hard to keep telling coherent lies like that. His mind and will really are as sharp and strong as a katana. Alright, what should I tackle first this time? Well, now that we have those emotions, let's see what his new testimony is. With a feel of dread, I opened the robotics lab door. Just then, Ponko attacked me. I retaliated by cutting it into pieces. Before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in.
Ponko was charging.
Yeah. Do we have evidence that it's charging, or maybe it's...
She goes every day at 2 p.m.
Yeah, but do we actually have that as evidence?
Can you see her hanging on the wall?
Yeah.
That was the charging station right there. She wasn't on it.
Oh, that. Well, yeah, because she was sliced to pieces, apparently. Though... But, like, here it's bandaged up, but in the picture it's not. Not 100%. If that's actually the contradiction, I can try it.
Objection!
Oh, well, shoot. Compounding lies with more lies is never the answer, Prosecutor Blackwell. Take a look at this photo. That's the photo of the supposed moment of the murder, isn't it? How many more times must I see that which damned me for my sin? The ironic thing is, I think this picture is actually going to be your savior now. See the bloodstain at the end of Ponko's arm where it was severed with the katana? I hope you aren't claiming it's the robot's blood, Mr. Wright. Now, most likely the blood was transferred there from the bloody katana. The katana already had blood on it, so then it must have been the victim's blood. That's right, but if that's the case, we found a glaring inconsistency. You said in your testimony that you cut up Ponko and then you killed Dr. Sykes. But in spite of that, the victim's blood is already on Ponko's arm in this picture. What? But that couldn't be. Exactly. In order for the blood to have transferred from the sword to Ponko's arm, the victim must have been stabbed first before the robot was slashed. In other words, Prosecutor Blackwell, your entire testimony is nothing but one giant ball of lies. Yeah! Tell the court the truth, Prosecutor Blackwell, now. You have no idea what you're doing. Oh, his voice, there's so much discord. I'm hearing not just one or two, but a bunch of rampaging emotions here. It's hard to describe, it's like a violent whirlpool or something. Phoenix Wright, you will pay for this. Never have I been forced to reveal so much, but the rest I'll take to my grave. Man, look at his left arm shake. Prosecutor Blackwell, you are on the witness stand. You are obligated to tell the truth. Isn't that the rule of the courtroom? All of these complex emotions, they seem to be flowing from one source. I think whatever he really saw that day is what's causing these feelings. Following the sound of crying, I opened the lab door, and then, yeah, I saw that terrible scene. Before I could lead Athena out of there, curse my luck, Dr. Sykes came in. I had no choice but to kill my mentor. Well, let's probe. Oh, what's causing these strong emotions? What's causing strong emotions? No? Let's try it out.
Got it!
I think you got it. When you opened the door and saw Athena, you became overwhelmed by your emotions. Isn't that right, prosecutor? Whoa, he's sweating? You should know better. And though it's pathetic, I admit I'm terrified to speak of it. Prosecutor Blackwell, Miss Sykes is innocent. I will always believe that with all my heart. Now, can't you find it within yourself to believe in me, too? Athena is innocent, huh? Can you honestly say you believe that to be true, right, Dono? I give you my word. Now tell me what you really saw when you opened that door. Curse you, Phoenix Wright. It was a tragedy, one I'll never forget. When I arrived at the lab, Dr. Sykes was already dead. She was lying on the operating table while the bloody katana lay on the floor. And standing between the two, covered in blood, was Athena. She smiled with a far-off look in her eyes as she sweetly said, "Something's wrong with Mom and I need to fix her." That's what I saw. And now you have it, the truth that you so desperately wanted. So I'm taking her apart to fix her. No. Prosecutor Black will finally tell us the truth, and this is what it is. It's beyond devastating. I tried to take my mother apart? No! So it was me. I'm the one who killed my mother. Athena. As I said, right, the truth isn't always pretty. Murder, disassembly on an operating table, a scientist using her daughter as a guinea pig. Sadly, it appears that my theory was correct after all. It's true that Athena didn't like her mother's research, but you dare cast aspersions on my mentor by claiming Athena was used in such a manner? Dr. Sykes could be awkward with people, but she loved her daughter with all her heart. She loved me. Your mother hated to see you suffer because she could hear the voices of people's hearts. She wanted to set you free of your pain, so she worked tirelessly on her research. Do you remember those headphones you hated so much? Yes, my head hurt every time I wore them. No, Athena, it's just the opposite. They emitted sound waves to nullify emotional input from the voices of people around you. Your power was much stronger then than it is now, and those headphones were what enabled you to carry on with everyday life. No, that can't be true. Then why? Why would I have done something like that to somebody who loved me so much? Her love for you was real, that I can guarantee. That's why I knew that what happened had to be some kind of mistake. I couldn't let you be punished for it. So you took the blame yourself. You and your mentor are more alike than you know. Ponko was a witness, so I put it in the case, held Athena close, and vacated the lab. I threw Ponko away in the boarding lounge trash chute, and I hid the case on the Space Center grounds. It would seem that we now have all the facts in this case.
Hold it!
No, not yet. It can't end like this. Do not disgrace yourself, Mr. Wright. The truth has been revealed. Or are you the type of man to turn your back to things that disagree with you? I'm not, but this... Can't give up now. I have to say something, anything, even if it's a bluff. I've always managed to pull through that way in the past. I have to make it work. The defense is prepared to present evidence. Mr. Wright? Yes, Athena? It's okay. You can stop now. I don't want you or anyone else to suffer any longer for my sake. Athena, what are you saying? I killed my mother. That's the truth. It's just like Prosecutor Edgeworth said. We have to face it, no matter how much it hurts. I admit my guilt. But could I please be granted just one chance to tell everyone what I recall? It appears Miss Sykes is much braver than you, Mr. Wright. What say you, Your Honor? In light of her courage, will the court give Miss Sykes this opportunity to confess? Very well. Then if you would, please take the stand, Miss Sykes. So my guess is there's going to be stuff that doesn't actually line up with the evidence, because she didn't do it. Thank you for letting me do this, Prosecutor Edgeworth. And thank you, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Blackwell, for letting the truth be known. Now we can finally move forward and everyone's suffering can come to an end. Athena, Prosecutor Blackwell will be cleared and the dark age of the law can come to an end. Yes, admit your guilt and bring everything to its conclusion. I killed my mother. My memory is still a little hazy, but there's no question I remember it. I remember the weight of the weapon in my hands and the feeling of it stabbing me deep, and I remember the warmth of her blood as it flowed down the handle onto my fingers. Your Honor, please find me guilty. I dare say these are all memories that no one but the murderer would have. I see. Thank you for your confession. I believe this trial has gone on long enough. Before we conclude, does anyone have a counter-argument?
Objection!
I do, Your Honor. Mr. Wright. But Mr. Wright, why? I killed her. I remember it now. Any counter-argument now is pointless. Don't tell me you've forgotten one of the basic tenets of lawyering. Always believe in the client to the bitter end. Athena, you are not a murderer. I said that you never changed, but could you have actually regressed in these 8 years? I won't stand for your childish emotionalism getting in the way of the truth. Emotionalism? Don't lecture me on matters of the heart, Edgeworth. Because I can see straight into a person's soul.
The black ones.
Yes, they are. I did a little research, looked into those special psych locks. She's not trying to keep anything from you. Part of her heart and her memories are sealed off, even from herself. Oh, we're actually going to break black psych locks? There's still a chance somewhere deep in Athena's heart. There might still be a memory that not even she knows about yet. It might be like looking for a grain of sand somewhere in the cosmos, but still, that memory might contain a new fact that could prove her innocence. I hope for everyone's sake that you are not just bluffing, Mr. Wright. Now then, is there or is there not a problem with Miss Sykes' confession? Oh, I think I know. The victim's blood was found only on the blade, so it shouldn't have been on her fingers. Like, all of that should not have happened.
Take that!
Isn't that the katana the defendant used to kill the victim, Mr. Wright? I respectfully and vehemently disagree with Your Honor. But I remember it. I remember holding the weapon and getting blood on my fingers. That's exactly my point. If blood really did get on your fingers while you were holding it, there should be blood on the handle. But please focus on the handle of this sword. There's not a trace of blood on it. Therefore, this is clearly a contradiction of the facts. You're right. Oh my.
Objection!
The defendant must have simply confused a portion of her memories. She mentioned it was hazy to begin with, and we can't mull over every minor detail. But she also said there's no question I remember it, a fact we can't ignore. In that case, why don't you explain what this contradiction with her memory means? Gladly. Just give me a second to think of something. I want to say that Athena didn't stab anyone, but she said it herself that she remembers the feeling of committing the act. Think, Phoenix, think. What could the contradiction with Athena's memories mean? The defendant used a different weapon? The blood was wiped off the weapon. Could she have used something different? Well, first, the utility knife, that's for Clay Terran, right? Yeah. I mean, we still don't know what the heck happened there. My guess, I don't think it was wiped off. I think she used something else. Miss Sykes said blood flowed down the handle, but the katana's handle is spotless. So doesn't it follow that the defendant must have used a weapon other than the katana? What are you up to this time? This is it. This time I figured just the thing to end Athena's nightmare for good. The weapon that took Dr. Sykes' life was the katana. That much is for sure. But if I can show a possibility that Athena didn't use the katana, it could help me prove her innocent. A different weapon, you say? What weapon would that be exactly? Right, of course he would ask that. I can see you're floundering, Mr. Wright. Did you speak without thinking again, as always? How does he do that? But I can't back down. Not here, not now. That's right, I did, because it's so obvious it doesn't require any thought. What did you say? Okay, so maybe that was an exaggeration, but there has to be something. Was there some other bladed weapon in the robotics lab that day? Maybe there's something in one of the crime scene photos. Wait a minute, there is something. There's a high probability that that was in the lab. I don't have the particular weapon here in evidence right now, but I do have a piece of evidence just like it. Other than the katana, this is another blade that may have been at the crime scene. Oh, because this is in that box over there, right? Maybe not.
Take that!
That's the murder weapon in the Clay Terran case. Yes, this is the knife that took Mr. Terran's life, but there must have been a knife just like this at the scene 7 years ago as well.
Oh, every employee gets one.
Yeah, and it looks like it's missing something. See? There's like a gap. Toolkits containing utility knives like this one are issued to Space Center employees, and a robotics lab especially would naturally have one of these.
Objection!
But besides the katana, no other bladed weapon was found at the site. It was in the investigation report if you didn't know. Of course I knew that, when she told me just now. Then here's something else you already knew. There was a toolkit at the scene, but it didn't contain any blades. Here's a photo of its contents. Well, something's missing! You're right, I don't see any kind of bladed tool. Fine, but isn't there something odd about the design of these handles?
It's the job, see?
Yeah, and that one's all red. Therefore, there was no other bladed weapon in the tool. I disagree. This toolkit contained a knife. And what proof do you have of that? Don't tell me your eye for art is failing you too, Mr. Hemsworth. You are the last person in the world who should be criticizing my aesthetic sense. Now, he is simply watching out for your ocular health. Please proceed, Mr. Wright. Notice that the handles of each of these tools have a sort of design on them. Ah, I see that they do, but what significance does that have? It's clear that one of the tools is missing from this kit. If we rearrange the tools into a specific pattern, we might be able to tell which part of the overall design is missing. Is that the theory your pitiful sense of aesthetics helped you come up with? Edgeworth, just let it go. Show the court then if you would. What pattern or design would we see if we were to rearrange the tools?
Look for the galaxy logo thing.
That?
Well, see if it's on the pamphlet or something.
This is the pamphlet, isn't it? See, it's on the front. There's that. Or I guess that could work. Maybe that will work. That.
And that.
Oh yeah, well that works.
Take that!
The Gyaxa logo, Your Honor. It's on all the Space Center's documents and pamphlets. As you're aware, Gyaxa is the program that operates the Cosmos Space Center. Just look at how brightly the Gyaxa logo shines in the sunlight above the entryway. I really dig the stars and rocket motif it's got going. Gyaxa, huh? Isn't that the new name of the Federal Space R&D program? Ah, I think I see it now, but... Yes, with just the tools shown in this photo, the red A part of the logo is missing. And this is where the murder weapon from the Terran case comes into play. If we were to place the utility knife in the open slot, it would complete the Gyaxa logo. So it would, then that means... Admit it, Mr. Edgeworth, my aesthetic sense is keener than yours, and while you're at it, admit that the weapon Miss Sykes used could have been this one. Ugh! Order in the court. Miss Sykes confessed to having a memory of stabbing the victim. Admittedly, Miss Sykes most likely did stab someone using the utility knife. However, the weapon used to kill Dr. Sykes was the katana. Therefore, the act of stabbing that Miss Sykes remembers couldn't be that of Dr. Sykes. Very well, let's suppose for a minute that Miss Sykes did use the utility knife. Tell me, how does that change anything? Come again? What if the katana was only being used as a decoy to conceal the true murder weapon? What if the real weapon that took the victim's life was the utility knife? Don't be ridiculous, or are you changing the premise of your entire argument? I'm merely offering a hypothetical situation derived from your logic. Miss Sykes could have put blood on the katana to make it look like the murder weapon, and then concealed the knife on her personage until Blackwell carried her away. That does clear up the contradiction between Miss Sykes' memories and the evidence. If, in fact, the murder weapon is a utility knife, then fate has dealt you a cruel hand, for you have just proven the knife's existence to the rest of us with your own logic. The prosecution is attempting to lead the court. You're the one attempting to lead the court, Mr. Wright, by forcing us to forget the facts of this case. Need I remind you that there were only 2 people in the lab at the time of the murder, and that the defendant herself recalls stabbing someone with her own hands? No. It matters not whether the murder weapon was a katana or a utility knife, as long as we know that the victim and the defendant were the only ones there. You cannot escape the fact that it was Athena Sykes who killed her own mother. I don't believe it. Why? Why does this keep happening? Every time I find a contradiction, it vanishes and the suspicion keeps coming back. It's almost as if... now you're finally starting to get it. Your contradictions keep vanishing because the charge is true, and the suspicion keeps coming back to the defendant because that's where it belongs. Phoenix Wright, when will you open your eyes and accept the truth? God, he's gonna have no voice box by the end of this trial. Yeah, I don't want to believe it. It can't be true. But what if? Mr. Wright, you fought a good fight. I think you've done all you can do.
Don't forget Apollo was investigating too. Maybe he'll show up.
Yeah. Is giving up really the only option?
Never!
Never! No, snap out of it, Phoenix. What's the matter with you giving into doubt? I can't look back. Forward is the only way to go. No, Your Honor, not yet. It isn't over yet. Right? I can't lose sight of what's important. I believe in Athena, and I'll always believe in her to the very end. The defense lawyer never gives up on his client. I have to pick myself up and stand firm. Make that brain of yours work, Phoenix. If I don't see a way, I'll just have to go back and look for one. Time to rethink this case thoroughly. Oh, really? I can see the fact that Athena must have stabbed someone with the utility knife. That must have been what Ponko witnessed as Athena's hug. Prosecutor Blackwell didn't see the knife at the scene. This means that someone must have removed it from the lab before he arrived. Who could have taken the utility knife from the lab? Someone else? Yeah. If I trust in Athena, then I have to conclude there was a third person at the scene. But according to Ponko's testimony, Athena and her mother were the only two there. So then, how did this third person manage to escape Ponko's detection? I know, this person must have fooled Ponko's facial recognition feature by covering...
Your own face.
Yeah, because... Victim's face, that wouldn't have made any difference. Ponko's face, it seems kind of silly. Wait a minute, Ponko has a heartbeat detection system too. Even if they covered their own face, Ponko would have still detected their presence, but she wouldn't have been able to tell who they were. Wait, that's it. The culprit could have covered their face and posed as which person to avoid... Oh.
They wore that jacket that's only worn... She only wears that jacket for special events, and the jackets have, like, barcode around her army. So she would be like, oh yeah, Mama's side's still down. When she would come here.
Right. And maybe that's why, for some reason, there's some kind of cut in that blue jacket. If the culprit posed as the victim, that would explain why Ponko thought only she and Athena were there. All they had to do was take advantage of Ponko's basic recognition features. The culprit used this in order to pose as the victim. Her jacket. The culprit could have posed as the victim by wearing her jacket with the ID tag on it. But that still leaves the heartbeat detection system. How did the culprit get around that? It wouldn't have worked if Ponko could detect the real Dr. Sykes' heartbeat too. So does that mean that the real Dr. Sykes was already dead by that time? If that's the case, then who did Athena stab? The real culprit.
Yeah.
That's it. The person Athena stabbed wasn't Dr. Sykes. It was the person who murdered her and then pretended to be her, the real culprit. Now that Mr. Wright has finally finished thinking, let us bring this to a swift end. Please give us your verdict, Your Honor, so that we can move on to hostage negotiations. You're absolutely right, Prosecutor Edgewood. I didn't say I was finished, I was only pausing for a second, because I realized something so shocking I had to take a break to digest it. But now I know for a fact that Miss Sykes is innocent. But Ponko saw me. She witnessed the moment of the crime. Yes, Ponko did witness something. She saw the hug. In other words, the moment you used the utility knife. But the person you stabbed wasn't your mother. What are you saying, Mr. Wright? The answer is simple. The person Miss Sykes stabbed was a third person posing as Dr. Sykes. What?
Objection!
Do you really expect us to swallow that, Mr. Wright? According to the robot's statements, there was no third person there. Did you really think I wouldn't see through your ludicrous grab for time?
Objection!
After all we've been through, Mr. Edgeworth, I'm disappointed. Don't you know by now that this smile of mine means I have absolute confidence? Ah, you make that pose all the time, regardless of the facts. Ponko's strains malfunction. Mr. Terran, you look pale. Shall I help you to the sick bay? Mr. Terran, but that's Apollo you're talking to. Oh, this hunk of junk here is mistaking Apollo for Clay. Maybe Apollo is possessed by Clay's ghost. That was another case of mistaken identity caused by a jacket ID tag. All because Blanco couldn't read Apollo's facial features due to the eye patch. Like Mr. Edgeworth said, a mask can nullify the robot's facial recognition, and then all the person would have to do is wear a jacket with the victim's ID tag to pose as her. Of all the ridiculous theories, what good would a silly disguise like that do? Have you forgotten that the robot also has a heartbeat detection system? If there was a third person at the scene, the robot would have detected them. I'm sorry, Mr. Edgeworth, but that doesn't count for much, I'm afraid. Because by that time, Dr. Sykes' heart had already stopped beating. What? So does that mean... Yes, Your Honor, the person Miss Sykes stabbed, this third person who was posing as Dr. Sykes, is her mother's real killer. But that's... Oh, he's saying impossible. Yeah, there's no apostrophe. A mask? The person I stabbed was wearing a mask?
It's masking in the office.
That's right. Order in the court, Miss Sykes, did you say something? A mask? Yes, I remember, Athena, what is it? I remember a man with a mask. How could he? What did he do to my mother? My head. Miss Sykes, are you alright? No. Black Cyclops. They're breaking. It's all coming back to me. Everything that happened the day my mother was murdered. They're gone. The Black Cyclops are finally gone. You didn't really stab your mother, did you? That's all right, Athena. Just tell us what you saw that day. I was drawing a picture. When I was done, I went to show it to my mom. I opened the door, and then... Ugh. It's all right. I'm right here. You're safe, Athena. She was on the floor by the workbench, with the katana sticking out of her. There was a handkerchief over her face, but I knew it was her by her clothes. And there was a man there.
Hold it!
Man. Quiet, Your Honor. Go on, Athena. He tried to attack me. In a panic, I grabbed the knife that was there, and he dodged at first, so I only got his clothes, but I tried again. And this time you got him, didn't you? I did. I remember it clearly now. The knife went into the back of his hand. Then he kicked me, and I passed out. When I came to, my mom wasn't moving. I had to do something. I had to fix her, I thought. So I asked Honko to move her to the operating table. Something's wrong with Mom, so I'm going to take her apart to fix her. So that's why she said that. Your Honor, as you can see, the defendant has just given us critical new testimony. A man was there before Miss Sykes arrived, a man who covered the victim's face. Put on the victim's jacket. This man is the real culprit. Miss Sykes, do you have any idea who this man was? No, I'm afraid I don't. A few moments ago, Miss Sykes mentioned a mask. Athena, could you tell us anything else about that? Yes, that mask. It was my mom's Japanese theater mask. I think it was the one hanging on the wall of the lab. Ah, this mask hanging here on the wall. It was kind of spooky, that mask. My mom used to tell me that a no mask even has the power to turn an ordinary human being into a phantom. A phantom? It would seem that a new suspect has emerged. And that means that all suspicion against Miss Sykes has... Oh, let me guess. An objection from Edgeworth. Oh, no. It's actually... You see, this is precisely why I can't trust the court system. Athena Sykes is the murderer. I won't accept any other verdict. Miss Blackwell, this is not good. A new suspect? Where's this proof this person ever existed? Who says it wasn't all just a dream in the little princess's groggy little head? Ugh, she's right. We don't have any evidence of the masked man's existence. Thank you, Mr. Wright. I'll never be able to repay you for all you've done. But I'm fine now, because I can say with certainty that I didn't kill my mother. Athena, I'm so glad for you. More and more memories are coming back now. Hanko came to the robotics lab at about 2 to recharge. I see where you're going with this. If Mommy Metis was really the killer in disguise. Right. Then he must have come to the robotics lab before 2 p.m. Do I have anything here in the evidence that can help me find this person who came to the lab before 2 p.m.? I'm still wondering about Detective Army, Tetonate, the other case. No, this is the last case of the game.
Okay. What are we trying to say?
Is there anything in evidence that can help find the person who came to the lab before 2 p.m.?
What's that movie answer?
There should be something from before, shouldn't there? This is Prosecutor Blackwell leaving the scene after the incident around 3 p.m. What I'm wondering is, does the video show anyone else passing by there before then? I don't see anything in the investigation report. It looks like they didn't check. Just as I thought. So if we rewind the footage and go back to around 2 p.m., we should be able to see the true culprit leaving the scene. Very well then, let's take a look. There, please stop it right there. Just like you said, there is a man leaving the scene of the crime. Miss Sykes, did you remember this person? That's him, I'm sure of it. He's wearing my mother's jacket. Exactly, it proves that Miss Sykes' memory was correct. Dr. Sykes' killer arrived at the robotics lab before 2 p.m. He killed her and hit her face with a handkerchief. Okay, that is creepy. Then he disguised himself with Dr. Sykes' jacket and mask that were there in the lab. The culprit probably knew beforehand that Panko charged up at 2 p.m. every day. So he waited for Panko to come to the lab for her regular recharge. By leaving Dr. Sykes' jacket on, the culprit tricked Panko into thinking he was Dr. Sykes, thereby making it look like she was alive up to that point in time. All to disguise the real time of death. It's a nice theory, Mr. Wright, but I'm afraid that it's just not possible. What? Why not? The victim's jacket is clearly visible right there in the video. And that right there is precisely the problem. The ID tag on the jacket at the scene confirms beyond doubt that it belonged to the victim. If the person who left the lab truly was wearing the victim's jacket, then how could it possibly have wound up back at the crime scene? What's going on? That doesn't make sense. Edgeworth's right. The culprit was wearing the jacket. How did they get back to the lab? Killer brought it back? Victim brought it back?
What brought it back?
The killer used the jacket as a disguise to make his escape, but in order to conceal that fact, he had to get the jacket back to the crime scene. So the culprit simply returned to the robotics lab later and planted it there. Contradiction resolved.
Objection!
Except that it would have been impossible. The only person who came to the robotics lab after the killer were Prosecutor Blackwell and the people who reported the body, and they claimed that the jacket was there when they arrived.
It's not a man, it's a jacket, it's a woman.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I think this is trying to throw us off to the fact that it was her.
And Blackwell could have covered for her and just brought it back.
Yeah, like she cares about her brother. She doesn't want him to be executed, but she hates Athena and wants her put in prison. When do you propose this mysterious man of yours have the chance to return the jacket? A puzzling question indeed. When did the culprit have the chance to bring the jacket back?
When the body was found.
Yeah, I would say so. The only time the culprit could have returned the jacket was when the body was found. Mr. Wright, do you realize the implication of that argument? I do. Most people, when they come across a murder, focus their attention on the body. The culprit could have taken advantage of that split second to plant the jacket. In other words, the true culprit of this case, the man known as the Phantom, was one of the first people to discover the body. I would have never thought of that. Order. What is the meaning of this, Prosecutor Edgeworth? body was discovered and reported by a group of 3 people. They were there to collect the space probe's capsule in preparation for the HAT-1 launch. One of those people had a special bag to transport the capsule in. Oh, you mean the shock-resistant bag? Correct. I suppose that if the jacket was in that bag, it could have been returned to the scene of the crime without anyone noticing. I'll see to it that you get the reports on those 3 people. You will? We should also check the facial recognition database for that robot. If this person felt the need to hide his face with the theater mask, it might mean that his facial data was once registered. Prosecutor Edgeworth, does this mean? I have to admit, I believe Miss Sykes' memory to be credible. You went right, not that this was ever an official trial anyway. My ears deceive me. Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you actually conceding? Is it true, boss? Does that mean I can't believe it. It's over. I won. I prove that both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell are innocent. Your Honor, I see no need to further prolong this trial. Hold on, Mr. Wright. Have you forgotten who's in charge of this trial? That's right. I'm the one who's supposed to say I see no need to further prolong. Not you either, Your Honor. Now silence. The little princess who was truly beloved by Metis and who repaid that love with death. All these years, hating Athena was the only thing that's kept me going. What do I do now? Can anybody tell me? How am I supposed to go on? Miss Blackwell. How unlike you, Aura. Metis was deeply passionate about her work, and she chose you as her partner. Isn't that... Shut up, Simon. You know exactly how I felt about her. Her respect as a co-worker wasn't all that I wanted. Then what did you want from her? Did you really just go there, Your Honor? Aura, there's something I've wanted to say if you will lend an ear. I have in my possession a lead on who Metis' murderer is. You do? Right, Dono, you asked me about the identity of the Phantom of 7 years past. That's right. The Phantom, the person Blackwell has been looking for, even from behind bars. 7 years ago, somebody hatched a plan to sabotage the HAT-1 rocket. The spy. But he was no ordinary spy. He knew not about him, his background appearance. He came to refer to him as the Phantom. At the time, I was working with the police to hunt him down, and then one day a miracle occurred and I obtained a lead on him. Oh, how exciting! What was the lead? A recording of the Phantom's voice, but the quality was too poor for proper voice analysis. Yet I had hope. Aura's co-worker was a scientist who could analyze human emotions, so I asked her to evaluate the recording using analytical psychology. And that scientist was Dr. Sykes. Yes, a spy's greatest fear is to have his true identity discovered. In addition to HAT-1, Dr. Sykes' results in the recording were surely among his targets. But his search of the Space Center bore no fruit, so he must have started to panic. He couldn't find them, but where could they have been? Who's to say? Wow, I bet he's never let that out of his sight all these years. How in the world did you smuggle them into prison? Oh, I have my ways. What's more, my partner is especially talented at that sort of thing. I worked to lure the Phantom in by spreading rumors throughout the underworld. I was even granted permission to prosecute cases to attract the Phantom's attention. Just try to retrieve your identity, you bloody butcher, became my taunt. What about the result Dr. Sykes drew up for you? Was there any useful information? Here, you can see for yourself. Take good care of it, it's all I have left of my mentor. I will, but hold on to this real tight.
Maybe we're wrong. They're saying it's a he.
Yeah, this is
Could it
interesting.
actually be Starbuck?
I'd be sad if it were Starbuck, though, because he's on his little scooter, and it's cute. The emotional output of this voice extremely weak compared to typical voices. Subject deemed to have unique psychological makeup with almost no emotional fluctuation. No emotional fluctuation, huh? A spy who experiences no emotions, not sadness nor anger, and naturally no fear. He is the very definition of a phantom, a monster with no heart. Don't you see? This creature is the rot that destroyed our lives and set what ails us all into motion. The Phantom, indeed, a fitting name for the one who has brought darkness to our world. Well then, it seems a faint image of this man has started to take shape. Based on what we have learned, I'd like all of you to conduct further investigation. This is not a formal trial, but I do want to follow protocol. If I may, I'd like to hand down my verdicts and bring these proceedings to an end. Whatever, do what you want. You'll hear no objections from me. Yes, please, Your Honor. It's over. It's finally over. This is so climactic, and this isn't even the end.
Yeah, we'll have to make it a stopping point though.
Yeah, because I guess once this chapter wraps up, we'll call it a session.
Yeah, with Yuri? Oh no, because he saved it by switching the things around.
Yeah, like I feel like he's scared of somebody else.
Yeah, is there somebody we don't know about yet?
I don't know. Or is it Detective Army? Because we still don't know why she died.
True that.
Although she's not a he, so very well. In that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, could you please take the stand? As a result of this trial, your innocence has been proven. The verdict handed down 7 years ago is hereby overturned. Hmm. And now the defendant of the current trial, Miss Athena Sykes. Because the way Aura's reacting does not seem like that of the murderer. Like she's saying, "Oh, I've hated her all these years. Now what do I do?" Like that seems to me that she's realizing she's innocent, and there's no way she should realize she's innocent if she knew that she herself, Aura Blackwell, did it. Like it doesn't make any
She's
sense.
just jealous of her.
Yeah, and she has emotions as we've seen. So, yes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright, thank you for everything. Yes, you're more than welcome. If everyone is ready, I will now give my verdict. What? Please let it stop. You? Really? Apollo? What is the meaning of this? Congratulations, Mr. Wright and Prosecutor Edgeworth. You uncovered the truth from 7 years ago and you saved Prosecutor Blackwell. However, I can't allow this trial to end.
That's a good stopping point.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
been investigating it too, and he's investigating it with Aura because he was there talking to her.
Yeah. So I'm really curious. I'm really curious how this goes because that's so we're still going to be on the trial. We're going to be cross-examining Apollo, which is kind of I don't know,
Different.
different. Yeah.
Guess we're gonna find out what he. Oh no, but I'm a little confused as to if this is somebody we've met or we just haven't met this person yet.
Yeah. And if we haven't met this person, I'm curious the backstory we're going to dig up on them.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, why do they want to sabotage the launches?
yeah. Why do they want to sabotage the launches? Why was the place bombed to stop the trial and kill Detective Army, who's also involved in this case? Like, there are a lot of things that we still need to know.
Yeah, there's a lot of missing pieces.
So I'm really curious about coming back to this. Hopefully this weekend because this is intriguing. I'm intrigued.
It's an interesting
Yeah,
situation.
I wasn't as intrigued earlier with Edgeworth's. Oh, we can interpret. I'm like, what? Come on. But I feel like all these turns that they've built have actually got me legit intrigued. So I'm I'm looking forward to going into this cross examination to see what Apollo found. So, all right,
Well,
and that does it.
we don't know where Athena's dad is either.
Yeah, that's right. Ooh,
Ooh.
who wore the mask? That creepy mask.
He's the Phantom.
Or maybe it's Tetanate because he doesn't sound like he has emotions because he's a robot. I am Osimo.